Everybody, welcome to Art of Real Life Presents Speak on a Comics. And like last week, this week I have my boy Blake with me again.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
We went over last week his favorite Batman movie, and probably mine as well, because the animated series obviously is very close and dear to my heart. So at the store, I wanted to pull this out for you real quick so you get an idea. So what's your favorite movie again, Blake?
Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Here we have Phantasm here. So, we figure we'll talk a little bit about our love of the movie. We'll talk a couple facts on it and why it's pretty much, a lot of people call this their favorite Batman movie of all time. So, since you mentioned it first, I'll let him go first. So, why is this your favorite Batman film?
Well, first and foremost, I feel I just grew up with it. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. Also, it's just a phenomenal movie. I feel, from the people that made the film to the actors, the writers, the presentation. I just feel it's such a great film, and it made an impression on me, and probably many other people as well. So,
I feel the same way. Like, this was my definitive Batman. This was people that know me obviously know I love Batman. So, shirt by Marlon and his family. Thank you. It was Christmas last year.
Very nice shirt.
So it looks kind of like Phantasm, half.
That's very cool. Yeah.
So
yeah. I don't have a Batman shirt.
And honestly, speak of the same guy. That's my best friend. He was the one that got me watching this when I was a kid. So I used to watch a lot of Disney stuff, and also too, like, we only had the family stuff. But I was kind of like, this was a no-no.
Too dark.
Yeah, too dark. Too depressing. Right, Mom? Too depressing. Like life isn't. But anyway, that's another day.
Well, it is what it is.
But he got me into watching this, and he got me into watching the animated series, and then my boy Thurman got the VHS. That's a whole other story for another time too, right, Thurman? But watching it, as a kid, I loved that they actually had blood.
Yes, I remember that.
Joker
It was
got
a little edgy, and
teeth
Batman
knocked out. Batman's like, Joker wipes his sleeve. Batman gets blown up. Poor guy's bleeding from the mouth.
When they have the propellers from the little mini copters,
Yeah.
he gets his arm. Yeah, I remember that.
So, I remember seeing, I was like, the cartoon had maybe a few episodes with blood in it. Gargoyles, too, had another one. So it was like, that was a time when cartoons were kind of getting a little more like comic books. Not violent, really, but
a little more
realistic.
A little more edgy.
Think about it, man. We have blood in our system, right?
Yeah, of course.
So,
it happens.
And it actually shows kind of like a vulnerability, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you see Batman getting beat up. If he's bleeding, he's hurting. He's not in a good place at the moment.
Yeah, it makes it more real and makes it where people can relate to it through the presentation. Like, we're feeling his pain.
Yep. Well, I felt his pain. Or even, there's a scene where he punches the propeller and there's all this, liquid. I don't know if it was blood or grease.
Probably grease,
He pops it. And
oil,
then,
yeah.
I think it could have been oil, or they were just trying to, show. But then again, his knuckles weren't all damaged. I don't think so. So, the thing about this movie, it kind of gives us a backstory to Bruce when he was young. Him giving his promise to his parents. Him meeting Andrea.
Yes.
Andrea Beaumont, who was another...
His first, I guess one of his first loves.
Yeah,
and it also, spoilers, could maybe step away from being Batman.
Yes,
and
she did make
also maybe something that he never thought he could have is being happy.
Yep. I remember that scene.
Yeah, I remember that. He goes, when he's on the grave site, talking to his parents, looking to see if it's okay. And I never accounted to be happy. And then he's like, give me a sign. And then it was such a beautiful presentation too, with the gravestone and the
was it
the lightning and the rain, and you could see the emotion, and it was almost like tears.
Yeah.
Because he's like, please tell me, I want it to be better, and give me a sign or whatever. And he goes, and then Andrea comes in, and it's like, maybe they have.
It was really it was a cartoon. That thing about this show, those that haven't seen it, it's animated, but it's so heartfelt. It's so realistic, and even the whole thing with Andrea, spoilers. She goes through some trauma that affects who she is, and it's almost like they were almost tragically not meant to be happy or be together because of situations, and pretty much because of what the parents, Batman's parents, obviously didn't ask to get killed, but Andrea's dad made some poor choices and ended up getting killed.
Yeah.
And the mom ended up dying, probably natural causes, because they don't really
explore
why.
mom really. Yeah.
So both of them have like this tragic life from both of their parents being dead, and it's both on vengeance. So now the cool thing about this character was they kind of played it off as a male. Remember he talked, the angel of death.
Well, they use, I think it's the same voice actor who, because it's Andrea's father who is suspected to be the Phantasm. So yeah, that's who's suspected. That's under the mask. And even in the movie, well, no, I know, because I remember now. Andrea even like alludes to that, where she goes, "Well, Daddy doesn't matter anymore. It might come down to me and your father and stuff like that." And
subconsciously, it kind of did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Poor Batman. It's like Talia, except for Gracious alive.
Well, there's always tragedy with Bruce, where he can't. He's meant to be a loner, and maybe he just can't find that true love that lasts, unfortunately.
Yeah. But let's go into a little bit about, it also had the origins of one. They didn't mention he was Jack Napier. They mentioned it in the episode Dreams of Darkness, I think, or when Batman lost his mind because of the scarecrow gas. And when he was locked up, this was like an episode.
Okay.
So the doctor actually did say Napier,
They do exactly make a reference to Batman 89.
But I love how they went into how Joker was just this quiet killer, right? Cigarette, and he just was like the hitman, I guess, right? He was a muscle.
Yeah, he was. Well, the origin of like that Joker was he was the muscle of the mob, who is in the film, and he was like you said, he was a hired gun or like a henchman, and it's cool how they connect him. Like if you remember in the movie where he sees a picture of everybody together, and in the background, he's drawing like a red smile because it looks. He's like, wait a minute, I see those eyes.
Face.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
Oh no.
You're not Batman after all.
Yes, I like
But
that.
speaking of Mark Hamill, obviously his voice of Joker, my favorite Joker, and he was amazing in that too.
Oh yeah, I love his scenes.
He was halfway in there, but he stole the show from that moment on.
Exactly, and I love the lines like when he's like with Sal Valestra, like when he goes to see the Joker because he needs help because they think that Batman is killing the gangsters, and obviously it's not, but it's the Phantasm.
Yeah.
But he goes over and he's like, if there wasn't any other way, and he goes and sees the Joker and he goes, Sally boy, it's been a dog. And then he goes over and he's like, brings him in there, and I love the like the one-liners and everything goes. Like it can't be like with it. Can't be too
careful with all those weirdos around.
The security system,
or the feeling frisky tonight, and he hits the robot in the bottom and pulls out a piece of rubber.
Like, you can't fault for anybody who falls in love, like the people you fall in love with.
And then when he goes, isn't it the case when you get in the mood and company shows up?
Hey, I gotta hand it to you, babe. Nice scheme. Yeah, the costume's a little theatrical, but hey, who am I?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was great. I like those lines.
So he really stole the show. So what was your favorite part of the movie?
Oh, I love everything about it. Like, I just love, like I said, the cast. I think some of the best performances, just in general, throughout the series and this movie, like Ephraim and Ballast, I believe his name is. Alfred is just great.
Yeah.
I love his performance and some of the lines he does, and he goes over and he's like, he's like Batman and him, and Batman goes, "You think you know everything
so
about
well,
me,
don't you?"
And he goes into the Batmobile, and he's like, "Well, I bloody well ought to, sir."
Right,
I thought that was great. Yeah.
He was like the father, hell yeah, I did. I saw, I wiped your booty.
Yeah, and I like the. I think he's just a phenomenal performance. He's one of my favorite Alfreds.
Yeah.
And.
Yeah, he was good. He always had the one-liners, the jokes.
Yeah.
He was very quick. He was witty.
Yeah, and even the same thing, towards the end of the movie, like that whole montage he has with, well, not montage, that whole monologue he has with him. Like, he goes over and he's like, "I couldn't save her, Alfred," Andrea. And then he goes, I don't think she wanted to be saved, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Vengeance blackens the soul, Bruce. I always feared that you would become that which you fought against.
Mm-hmm.
You walk the abyss every night, and you haven't fallen in. I thank heaven for that.
Yeah.
But Andrea fell into that pit years ago, and no one, not even you.
Yeah.
And it's just so emotional and so engaging, and that performance is great. Even that, or Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon, and when they're trying to chase after Batman, when they suspect that he's the one killing the gangsters and stuff,
the cops,
and then Gordon is against it, obviously, and he goes,
no part of it.
Yeah, you want him, you get him. I will be no part of it.
Yeah.
I thought, it's just a great. Those two performances in general are great, and then you have like the characters that are in the movie. Abe Vigoda as Sal Valestra. I just like him in that movie, and then he plays it very well as the leader of the mob, and then he's like gets paranoid later on because of he sees his fellow gangsters being killed off, and the one who plays Arthur Reed, I forget the actor's name. Let me look him up real quick. But I thought he was a great character in that as well. Hart Bachner. If I mispronounce that, I do apologize. He was Arthur Reed, who was he worked for Andrea's father, and then he became a politician.
Yeah, the one that started laughing crazy.
Yeah, and I love that part. Yeah, speaking of that scene, that's a great scene. He goes over and he's like, you see like the silhouette with when he's in the hospital because he was hit with the
Joker
gas.
They show him like stab him. Remember?
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Like,
in the shadows,
jumps on him. It looks like he stabs him.
Absolutely. And he goes over and he's like, and he comes through the window, Batman, and he's like, why did the Joker meet with you? Has something to do with the gangster murders, doesn't it? He thinks you're involved. Why? I don't know. And he picks him up and he goes right into his face and he goes, that's not the answer I want. That's like so great, and those are some of the great scenes and performances. And who else is in there?
Is it Baloo from
well, yeah, he was he
couple
did
side voices. I didn't know that.
He was additional voices. Ed Gilbert, who was, I believe, the original voice for Baloo, and he was also Little John in the 1973
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. He was also in the Aristocats.
Yep. The cat. Yeah, I forgot his name. I
forget. It escapes me at the moment. But he was he has such a distinct voice.
Yeah.
Ed Gilbert.
Was he a singer too?
I wouldn't know.
Well, I guess on Disney he was definitely singing.
Yeah, he sang in it. Yeah, everybody wants to be a cat. Yeah, but for the bare necessities. Simple bare necessities. But I love. We can do an episode of Robin Hood.
That's one of my favorite films as a kid.
I love that film. It's very underrated.
Definitely.
But other characters in there. Let me look up. Let me just correct to make sure that I don't butcher the names. I have it in front of me. Well, Dana Delaney, which later on she became Lois Lane in Superman, the animated series. I thought she was great as Andrea Beaumont, and like even towards the end when they finally realize that they can't love each other and be together, and she's on the boat. And she goes over and he's like, and the guy comes over from the party and comes to her and says, I'm sorry, do you want to be alone? And she goes, I am. And gives you such an emotional, and it makes you invested in it so much.
I think for the most part, I just figured out why it's people's favorite movie, because all the other movies are good. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Batman and Robin's are painful for me, but we won't go there.
Well, it has some funny moments and cheesy.
But that's the thing, I guess, like, most of these movies were either focused on action or funny or both, right? And that was the main thing. We're not talking about Robert Pattinson's Batman. We're not talking about that. We're talking about up to this time. This really was the only Batman that really had, like, heart for the most part. Like, what we're just talking about, technically, we're just rambling about the actors and the scenes and the voice work. We're not even talking about
the story, the
fight scenes. We're not even talking about yet, like, the action. I mean, you mentioned the chase, but you didn't go into detail.
Yeah.
With the other movies, I think for the most part, I mean, don't shoot me if I'm wrong. This is my opinion. The other movies are more, seems like they're more focused on the action and the explosions and the more comedy. And when it came to characters, maybe other than the Chris Nolan films, but that was this is way before that, right? We're talking about Batman in the 90s. But I think that's why this thing had so much connection to us, because this was probably the most dramatic, most heartfelt Batman up to that time.
Yeah.
Even 89 was flashy. I mean, I love that movie, but Bruce was a cuckoo bird in that, you know what I mean? He was, he was just who he was. It was kind of like, to me, he's like the crazy Batman. He's the Batman that kind of like embraces madness in a way. That's what made him cool. You know what I mean? It's like
you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yes, exactly. You go get nuts.
Oh, it's great.
But this one was the more well-rounded Bruce. We see him struggling. We see him making that promise. We see him falling in love. We see him about to get married. Remember, I'm no good at this. He just gives it to her. He gives her the.
He goes over. He tries to get on the knee. He tries to get on the knee, and then he goes, I'm no good at this. And he goes on the knee. He goes, you get such a great. It just plays with your emotions, and it's very well written.
It's a love story.
And just even the shout out to a lot of the people that were involved with the movie, and I'm just looking at it off the top of my head, and then let's look at
we have
filmmakers,
the guys like Bruce Timm, Paul
Tim, Baldini, Kevin Altieri, Boyd Kirkland, excuse me, Dan Reba, Tom Ruger. I'm just looking at the filmmaker list. Alan Brunette, phenomenal. Who else? Michael Usland, of course. One thing that I feel doesn't get the credit that she should, and God rest her soul, Shirley Walker, who was the composer.
Oh yeah, the beginning part. Yeah.
Oh, just the music in general for the whole series, and the Mask of the Phantasm, and also Sub-Zero, I believe.
Yeah.
She just has that's a character all by itself. Is the music and sends the emotion and the characterization and helps influence the performances and the writing and gets you emotionally invested. That's another factor that I feel that is not given the credit that it should. And she was just brilliant in that movie and in the series. And I can listen to that soundtrack. I recently bought it on CD.
You did buy it, didn't you?
Yeah, I recently bought it on CD. Batman the Animated Series. I don't have the whatever it is, the expanded edition, because that one came out later, but I have the original release, and I love that. And like some of the best scenes, like the intro, like you mentioned, like that was one of the few areas I believe that had CGI, because most of it is traditional.
Went right through the city, beautiful scene.
Yeah, and it's it goes through this with the opening credits, but most of it is hand drawn animation. I feel like that's a moment where you have a lot of very good soundtrack. Also, towards the end when you see the bat signal and he's sitting there on the rooftop, that just they took the soundtrack from the series and raised the bar with it and made it more epic, like with the chorus that they had in there.
Did you hear about the chorus? How it was their names backwards?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was trying to look for the making of. Yeah, they said they mentioned, like, they said all their names, and then they played it backwards, so it sounded like a Latin or some type of chorus, but it was actually their names played backwards.
Really,
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's great.
But it worked out so great that even knowing that, I still loved it. I mean, that's not something I'll play the beginning of that. Just to hear that part, I'm like, it's on Vudu, because I have every freaking version of this.
Yeah, I have it on DVD. Yeah, I have Batman Mask of the Phantasm on DVD. Maybe eventually I'll get it on Blu-ray.
Should, bro, on Blu-ray these shows are beautiful.
Oh yeah, animation shows up really well in higher quality, higher resolution.
God. Even watching like Aristocats and like Robin Hood on Blu-ray and stuff, you even see the pencil lines, the line work, the stuff they didn't erase, and I love that. Like seeing like the inner drawings, like when I teach the kids,
that are handed out,
Oh, anyway, we're getting off.
No, that's fine.
But this show drawing wise,
it's great. I love the artistic style of I just like the style in general with the series and then the movies, and excuse me, where it's like it has like the film noir, and if you don't I don't know if you realize. I'm sure you do, but they drew it on black paper.
Yep, that's why I paint all my paintings on black paper. Nice. Black paper on black canvas. I'll paint the canvas black. Paper, It brings out the color more. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that on my paintings. I always use black most of the time, unless I'm doing like something, Sonic or something.
I think Bruce Timm, said it, or one of the artists. I believe it was Bruce Timm. he said, "Well, I don't want to fill in all the black for the night scenes, so let's draw it on black paper." And
Smart.
that made a lot of sense.
And it cut a lot of time too, but it looked beautiful.
Oh, it's
And they were saying back then there was like a certain type of pro rating for cartoons, so that one actually didn't really make the cut because it was so dark, but they pushed on it through anyway.
yeah,
I did a hour long thing at a con all about like the making of the animated series, and I did a lot of research on it. And it was saying how like at the time of like when this came out, the rating, the cartoon ratings were changing, because remember everything was
Yeah.
like cute little characters, and or like 80s cartoon shows that were technically commercials. I mean, I love them. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
You know, the He-Man and all that stuff. But like, it's crazy how this came at like a perfect time when everything was changing up and they were allowing certain things. Even when I was watching some of the commentary for some of the episodes, we'll go over like our favorite episodes soon. But it was
if
like,
we have time, or
yeah.
if not, we can do it another episode.
But or we could just cut the camera and do it more.
yeah,
But
yeah, there you go.
but like they were talking about how they were surprised how things got like slid underneath. Like we'll definitely go over that in another one.
Yeah.
But with this show too, like it was definitely not your typical animated film for that time, unless you're talking about the 90s or the 80s. Remember like Rock and Roll and like or Lord of the Rings, certain movies that were not really intended for children per se, or like the Plague Dogs.
Yeah,
A Watership Down.
Well, like even this film, I think it was ahead of its time. It was revolutionary, and like adults can relate to this as well as children. And there's a lot of themes that as an adult you can look back and say, "Oh yeah, I get that now," or I can relate to it, and it's everlasting. It's timeless almost with some of these stories and movies, and it's I love it. But even going back to like something that I just remembered, which Shirley Walker's score, the one moment that was really epic when towards the end when the place is exploding, and Andrea is sitting there next to the Joker and has it in his face, and the crescendo of the music hits and it goes duh, and then the epic laugh with the Joker. That is phenomenal with the music, and like I said, I keep going back to that. But
Music is a character too.
Oh yeah, it creates the mood. It's a very powerful, and people should never take it for granted.
No.
But
I remember as a kid, I used to like fast forward the parts in the DVD about the music, but now I embrace it more because I realize now it's part of it. You take away some of the music on some scenes, and it's like it doesn't have as much impact.
Yeah, but even like the same thing with like the crew, like I don't feel they get enough credit for a lot of it now. But back in the day, you look at it like
when you were behind the scenes, you were really behind the scenes.
Yeah, like I said, like Dan Reba and Kevin Altieri and Boyd Kirtland. Who else? Tom Ruger. Like they really brought it to the forefront. Alan Brunette, and it just holds up so well. And I feel it's the bar, in my opinion, for all Batman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I want to say thank you as a fan.
No.
And it's really left an impression on me, and I'm sure
Me
you
too.
and many other
100%.
people.
I am Batman.
Yes. Oh, and one guy that we didn't even mention, Kevin Conroy.
We talked about him last week.
Yeah, we talked about him last week, but like,
he's amazing guy.
His chemistry between Dana Delaney, as Andrea, and the chemistry there. And you felt really emotionally invested with her and her relationship with Bruce, and and also Mark Hamill. What hasn't been said over the years, Joker, and but I like the part even at the end. He's like, "Okay, I give up. Tell her, Batman." It's like
we play.
Yeah, and it's just such good chemistry between the actors too, and or what was the other one like? I'm trying to think, like even the same thing like with the Joker and the character of Arthur, or even Bruce. Like if he goes through when he's at the party and he goes over and he's like, I like that witty line when they go over with Arthur and Bruce, and he just gets Bruce was just turned down by the woman and gets the drink in his face,
vengeful,
and then he
chick.
gets he's like don't fall in love with
he goes,
Bruce. He wines and dines you, and then makes you think you're the only one, and he forgets your phone number, and then he throws the drink in his face, and then he comes with the handkerchief, and he goes, and then he goes, friend in need, councilman, and he goes, so how's the bat bashing going? Better than your love life. And, it seems like you get those.
Thanks for the handkerchief.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You know where
you can stick it. Yeah, and it's great. But he goes over and he's like, I love that. It's such witty writing, and I think that was Paul Dini and who did that, and I forget who else wrote that. Let me just look that up really quick. But yeah, the writing is so witty, and then the performances. Let's look up their writers. Yeah, Alan Burnett. Paul Dini, Martin Pascoe, Michael Reeves. Oh, I didn't even know Michael Reeves.
He knows his people.
Well, I'm looking at IMDb right now.
He still knows his people.
But it's a great resource. Obviously, you and I can talk about things off the top of our head, but it's always good to have a reference.
Good. Yeah, it is.
But,
reference is key.
Yes, of course, and be prepared.
So.
Be prepared, people.
Always.
But the writing is very witty, and that has a lot to do with it, and that's part of it too.
So what we're trying to say here is watch the movie.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and you were a big fan of either the animated series or just Batman in general, I feel you should make it a priority to see this.
It's on HBO Max. It's on Vudu. You could get the freaking
DVD, Blu-ray.
There's no excuse.
And I feel it's it's aged like a fine wine, and people are starting to appreciate it as the years go on. And whether it's the filmmakers, whether it's the cast, whether it's whoever, you brought such a wonderful film to the masses, and it's like I said, it's made an impression with me. I'm sure it's made an impression with you and many people. And for that, I want to say thank you for, being a part of our childhood and now in adulthood, and passing it to the next generation.
Yeah, that's what I
do.
do.
And it's everlasting. And thank you. And
we appreciate it.
I very much
love
appreciate
you guys, all of y'all. So on that note, we'll say, everyone, closing.
Yes, in closing, I think I summed it up really well there. And, thank you for making an impression on me and for everybody else who's seen this film. And if you haven't seen the film, go out and make it a priority to go see it.
And if you do see it, if you see this video, comment, tell us what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, or ugly. We'd love to hear it. We want to hear people's opinion. And on that note, everybody, stay encouraged.
Yes.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I am Batman.
And I'll see you soon.